Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and in just a moment, I'll be comparing previous Bitcoin bottoms so that we can see what sort of price action plays out when the Bitcoin price has bottomed out. And also, we have massive Bitcoin and Ethereum news today. And of course, later in this video, I'll be covering the Ethereum price action and the stock market, so definitely stick around. First of all, just taking a quick look at the 2-day Bitcoin chart, and obviously we still have this active bullish divergence in play. And what is great to see about this bullish divergence is the fact that we're still seeing a fairly strong uptrend in the 2-day Bitcoin RSI, and this is also true on the daily Bitcoin RSI as well. And the last time where we saw a similar uptrend in the RSI on the daily time frame, the 2-day time frame, that was back around February and March. But during that time period, we didn't have a bullish divergence here on the 2-day Bitcoin chart. But even without a bullish divergence, just because of the fact that we were oversold in the 2-day Bitcoin RSI, and we were seeing a fairly strong recovery in the RSI on the daily timeframes, that basically meant that the Bitcoin price was due to hold up relatively well, and obviously that did indeed happen between around January and March. And looking at the last time where we saw a significant uptrend here in the 2-day Bitcoin RSI, that was during the middle of last year, and during that time period, obviously we were seeing a bullish divergence, because in fact, up until just a few days ago, recently the Bitcoin price over the past few weeks was almost perfectly repeating what we saw in the middle of last year. And you can see this more closely if you copy that price action and overlay it on top of the recent Bitcoin price action. And once again, just up until a few days ago, we saw a very high correlation between what we've seen recently and what we saw in the middle of last year. But this right here is on the daily Bitcoin chart. And once again, just over the past few days, we have seen a slight divergence away from this fractal. But for the most part, we're still playing out a lot of choppy sideways price action, which is pretty much what happened in the middle of last year. Even though we did slightly trend to the downside, we didn't exactly break much lower than the original low, because we originally bottomed out at around 30,000 during May last year, and we only formed one more slightly lower low, which was just below 29,000. And obviously, if you've been subscribed to this channel over the past couple of weeks, you would already know about this fractal just here, because I have mentioned it quite a lot here on the channel. So I won't be going too much into this particular fractal in this video, but just really quickly explaining what this fractal suggests. It does indeed suggest mostly choppy sideways price action, with the possibility of a bit more of a pullback within the next couple weeks or so. But it is important to mention I do not use fractals as an exact price prediction, instead as more of a rough guideline for what we could expect moving forward based on previous price action. And now with that in mind, if you copy the 2018 bear market bottom and overlay that price action on top of the recent Bitcoin price action, this is what we get. So obviously, once again, if you've been keeping up to date with my recent videos here on the channel, or if you've been in crypto for any longer than just a few weeks, you would know that the 2018 bear market bottom was a very significant bottom for Bitcoin. And during that time in the market, at the end of 2018, entering into early 2019, as Bitcoin was bottoming out, this is basically what we saw. Going into the Bitcoin bottom, we saw a massive capitulation, almost a vertical drop in the Bitcoin price. And then after the Bitcoin price bottomed out for the 2018 bear market, we saw a lot of choppy sideways price action for a couple more months before then we saw more of a bullish reversal back to the upside, which was actually over a 300% pump in early 2019. And even in this 2018 fractal, this is still suggesting a possible pullback for the Bitcoin price sometime within the next couple weeks or so. But for the most part, a lot of choppy sideways price action before we see any sort of bullish reversal potentially later on. And obviously, the 2018 bear market bottom was different to what we saw in the middle of last year. But once again, that goes back to why I don't use these fractals as exact Bitcoin price predictions, instead as more of a rough guideline for what we could expect moving forward. And when you're looking at these previous Bitcoin bottoms, it just goes to show that we don't see a massive crash and then another immediate bullish recovery. In a lot of significant bottoms, yes, we usually see a fast crash or some sort of capitulation, but then in most cases, we usually see a lot of sideways choppy price action before then we enter into more of a bullish recovery later on, potentially months after that crash to the downside. And one reason that supports the idea of the Bitcoin price potentially already reaching some sort of bottom or very close to a bottom is the fact that we've seen a massive spike in the volume indicator here on the weekly Bitcoin chart. And I won't be going too much into detail about all of this in this video because I've discussed it in further detail in previous Bitcoin update videos. But basically, anytime where we see a major Bitcoin capitulation, just a very fast crash in the Bitcoin price, we see a lot of Bitcoin change hands, usually from a lot of panic sellers or a lot of people getting liquidated from their leveraged positions. And then a lot of that Bitcoin flows into strong hands or long-term Bitcoin holders or whales. And if you're looking at the last complete Bitcoin cycle over the last 4 to 5 years, Whether we're looking at a bear market, a bull market, or something in between, every significant Bitcoin bottom so far during this entire time period has been confirmed when we see a massive spike in volume. And in the March 2020 example, when we saw that spike in volume and that one massive red weekly candle, that confirmed the Bitcoin bottom. But if you're looking at the 2018 bear market and what we saw in the middle of last year, what is very interesting is we actually put in a slightly lower low after we saw that massive spike in volume for Bitcoin. So in the 2018 bear market bottom, when we saw that massive spike in volume after that huge capitulation, at that stage, the Bitcoin price had reached a bottom of around 3,400 approximately, but the bear market bottom was actually at around 3.1k. So we had a little bit lower to go, even though we had already seen a massive spike in volume. And we saw something similar in the middle of last year. Once again, we saw a massive spike in volume on that original capitulation to the downside during May last year. And that bottom was at around 30,000 exactly. But we still ended up forming one more slightly lower low at just underneath 29,000 during June last year. And before jumping into the short-term Bitcoin price action, taking a look at the Bitcoin news today, which is the fact that PayPal is now giving the ability to its users to transfer crypto in and out of PayPal, which is a very good thing. Because before this, all you could really do with PayPal around crypto is just buy and sell it on PayPal, and you couldn't really withdraw it off PayPal. And with this new update, you can now transfer certain coins into PayPal and of course withdraw coins out of PayPal into just about any external crypto address, whether that's another exchange or into a hardware wallet or something like that. And the reason why this is good news is because of a couple different reasons. First of all, owning Bitcoin or pretty much any crypto for that matter on a platform that does not support withdrawals is honestly not a good thing to do, because obviously in that case, you're basically trapped in, and in order to take your money out, you basically have to sell that crypto. And so with this recent news, PayPal is going from a platform that could give you a little bit of crypto exposure just by buying it and then selling it later on, to now being a little bit more like one of the other crypto exchanges where you can just buy and withdraw it from the exchange. And this is great news for crypto adoption because PayPal reportedly has almost 400 million active users. And to put that into perspective, there's not a single crypto exchange that currently has over 100 million users, let alone nearly 400 million active users. This is a big deal for crypto. And on top of that, with this recent update, PayPal has also been granted a full BIT license by the New York Department of Financial Services, becoming the first company to convert a conditional BIT license into a full BIT license. Which is also good news for Bitcoin because obviously there's a lot of people that have been scared about the US potentially banning Bitcoin. But this right here proves the exact opposite. It shows the US, or more specifically, the New York Department of Financial Services is actually opening up to Bitcoin and crypto altogether by allowing PayPal to do this, especially in the US. And now jumping into the short-term Bitcoin price action here on the 4-hour time frame. And obviously over the past few days, we've seen a lot of fake outs above this line of resistance coming into play at around 30,700, which means that line of resistance has essentially lost some of its significance. But as for the lines of support, they have not changed for a while now. Obviously, we still have some short-term support at around 29,500, but we have more significant support coming into play at around 28,500. And technically speaking, 30,700 could still act as a bit of short-term resistance, but on top of that, I'm looking towards this descending line of resistance coming into play at around 31,500, and anything above that, I'll be looking towards this previous high, which is sitting at around 32,500, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. And in terms of expecting a lot more bullish or bearish price action, I would not be expecting any of that until we either break above 32,500 to see more bullish price action, obviously, or break back below 28,500 in order to see more bearish price action to play out. And one of the main reasons that is potentially behind a lot of the choppy price action for Bitcoin is due to the fact that we're seeing something very similar over in the stock market. This right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the daily time frame, and basically over the past 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of choppy sideways price action in the stock market. But I would expect a lot of this choppy sideways price action to end towards the end of this week, entering into next week, because this Friday on the 10th of June, we have new CPI data that will be released, which will update the official inflation rate of the US dollar. And usually it's around these sort of days where we see a lot more volatility in the market, which could happen on Friday, but most likely entering into next week in particular. particular. And now getting into the Ethereum part of this video here on the daily time frame, obviously we still have this active bullish divergence in play, which is revealing reduced bearish momentum for Ethereum. And looking at the shorter term here on the 6-hour time frame, technically we're still forming this symmetrical triangle pattern with support coming into play at around 1740 and resistance coming into play at just above 1900, more specifically at around 1910. And just giving you a quick update on the Ethereum short positions on the Bitfinex exchange here on the daily time frame, and today is basically the same story as what we've seen over the past week or so, which is a continued decline in the Ethereum short positions on this particular exchange. And this chart is actually getting very close to all-time low levels, and if you want to know more about what this means for Ethereum, check out my last video here on the channel. And now giving you a quick update on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart here on the daily time frame. And over the past 2 days, we've seen a slight decline for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which has slightly invalidated a previous bullish divergence between these two lows. But technically speaking, we're still seeing lower lows in the price action for the daily candle closes, but higher lows in the daily RSI, which is technically still a bullish divergence forming right now, but we need to reconfirm this bullish divergence by confirming this daily candle close in the green, which would actually confirm this higher low in the RSI. And if that confirms, then once again, as I've been mentioning recently on the channel, I expect reduced bearish momentum for Ethereum versus Bitcoin. But with that being said, it's still important to understand that we're still in a fairly strong downtrend, even though we might be due for some short-term reduced bearish momentum. So overall, in terms of the larger trend for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, obviously I'm leaning more bearish than bullish. And as for the Bitcoin dominance, I am leaning more bullish than bearish, which is not really good for the altcoin markets compared to Bitcoin. But obviously this is nothing new for the subscribers out there, because I've been mentioning this basically every day on the channel over the past month. And make sure to check out one of these videos popping up right here on your screen if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, even if prices are going down. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.